Our project is on precision agriculture for potato crop using wireless sensor-based network. Sensors we used are soil moisture sensor, which is FC28, humidity and temperature sensor, DHT11, light sensor, we used photoresistor. So why are we considering these parameters in our project? Soil moisture sensor. Soil moisture sensor is the key parameter to determine when to irrigate and the right amount of water to supply. Water is taken from the root system and lost through transpiration leaves. The rate of water loss depends on the condition of soil, airflow, relative humidity in air, and the temperature of the environment. The farmers need to be aware of the effects of overly moist soil. The oxygen content of the plant's root substrate is reduced if the soil is flooded with water. This will damage the roots, and as a result, the roots cannot extract water and its nutrients from the soil. Therefore, enough water is to be supplied to the plants all the time, which is also known as precision irrigation. So, humidity sensor. Humidity controls the moisture loss from the plants. So, carbon dioxide enters the plants through tiny pores of the leaves, and water and oxygen leaves from them. High humidity can also affect the development of plants because fungal diseases will spread easily and air becomes saturated with water vapor, which restricts transpiration. Temperature sensor. Temperature influences most plants' development processes such as photosynthesis, transpiration, absorption, and flowering. Each species of plant has a different temperature range in which they can grow. Above this range, enzymes become inactive and processes essentially get stopped. Hence, temperature should be maintained at optimal level all the time. So the total area of crop coverage is about the size of paving of our Goa campus. So for the ease of deployment, we have scaled down to 20 cross 50 square meter. Each crop is planted 12 inches apart from each other, row-wise horizontally, and distance between each row is 90 centimeter apart vertically. So number of plants row-wise times distance between two plants equals total distance of the entire row, which is nothing but distance between the two plants, as we have seen in the previous slide, is 30 centimeter. Is that to 12 inches? So plugging in the values, number of plants row-wise times 30 centimeter equals 20 meter, which is approximately equal to 60. So the number of plants row-wise is equals to 60 plants. Similarly, number of plants column-wise times distance between two plants equals total distance of the entire column. So distance between the two plants, as we know, is 90 centimeter. If we plug in the values, number of plants in column wise times 90 centimeter equals 50 meters, which is nothing but number of plants in column wise, we can get it approximately as 50. So total number of plants in row wise is 60 and in column wise 50. So total number of plants is 60 times 50, 3000 plants. As the sensing area had to cover every corner of the plant, so we are taking the maximum sensing range of each of the sensor. So the maximum sensing range among the different sensors is taken as its sensing diameter, and which is then calculated and cross verified across the plant area, which turns out to be that a single mode can cover 60 plants. In row wise, 12 plants can be accommodated, and in column wise, 5 plants could be accommodated. Hence, 3000 by 60, we get 50 modes required for our entire network. So this is a diagrammatic view of how actually the setup is being implemented. So as we see this green color circles, this indicates the number of plants. So as we can see that there are 12 plants horizontally and 5 plants vertically, and the moat is placed in between them. A single moat can cover 60 plants as we have seen in the previous slide. Appropriate sensing current and duration for all the sensors using data sheets that are available for different sensors and Telospe's data sheet. If we consider 6000 mAh power source connected across the network, it can withstand approximately up to 90 days maximum. This figure depicts the different mode IDs that are available. As you can see, the first mode ID is given as 00 and the adjacent ID is given as 01 and the next ID is 02 and so on till 04, which means that it can accommodate 5 modes row wise, and column wise we can accommodate 10 modes. So, so distance between each mode horizontally, as you can see here, there are 12 plants in between them. So each of it are separated by 30 centimeter distance apart. So we can say that 30 times 12, which is 3.6 meters horizontally. And similarly, in vertical direction, we can see that there are 5 plants separated apart each other. So 5 times 90, which is equals to 4.5 meters. So here is the deployment diagram shown in this figure. So distance between each mode is 3.6 meters horizontally, and vertically, as you can see, as we have seen in the previous slide, it is 4.5 units. And the base station is connected far apart from the network.
Network should have common time. That means they should be time synchronized. If time synchronization is proper, every other protocol will fall in place. So, in our WSN, we will be using TPSN. For TPSN, it is assumed that all nodes have unique ID across all the layers. Since in our case, we have uniform and structured deployment, we have pre-programmed a unique ID to each node based on its location. So, we can use TPSN here. We know TPSN is made up of two phases, that is, level discovery and self-organization. But as we have pre-programmed the node ID that can give distance between the nodes, level discovery phase can be avoided. So, TPSN protocol will be helpful for synchronizing the sleep-wake cycle and backoff period of the modes. We will be re-implementing TPSN at every 1 hour interval for proper time synchronization. In case of localization, We are pre-programming the node ID based on its location, that is, the row and column the node is belonging to. As shown in the figure, in rows and columns of the mode in row 0 and column 0 will be assigned ID 00. The next mode will be assigned ID 01, 02, and so on. This is explained in our deployment algorithm. So, due to pre-programming of the node ID, separate localization protocol is not required. We are going to use clustering algorithm in our WSN. Clusters will be pre-programmed based on IDs of nodes. So, every node will know while deployment itself which cluster it belongs to. For example, as shown in the diagram, the nodes from row 0 to 2 and column 0 to 2 will be belonging to cluster 1. Similarly, the nodes ranging from rows 3 to 5 and columns 0 to 2 will be part of cluster 2. Like this, we have 6 clusters in total. For our cluster head selection algorithm, each node will broadcast its own energy level within the cluster. Based on the energy level, whoever has the better energy will be elected as cluster head. To avoid collision due to the broadcast, we are including a backup mechanism in our WSN. Every node in the cluster will back off for a certain time before it broadcasts its own energy level within the cluster. For example, if a node ID is 1, 2, that means if a node belongs to row 1 and column 2, it will back off for a time 1 into 3 plus 2 into 4 into a constant k milliseconds. That means the row weightage is 3 and column weightage is 4. And the constant k value is 10. After backing off for that much milliseconds time, the node will broadcast its energy level within the cluster. The members belonging to the same cluster only will accept that message. So, all the cluster members will know every other cluster member's energy. So, based on whoever has the better energy level, a cluster head will be elected. We will repeat this election of cluster head at interval of every 1 hour. For sensing, every mode will take the sensed parameters once in every 10 minutes. That means in an hour, for a total of 6 times, the sensed parameters will be taken. At the end of 1 hour, the data at each mode will be aggregated and will be sent to the respective cluster heads so that the cluster head can send it further to base station. That process will be explained in our routing algorithm. For energy conservation in our WSN, we are implementing a sweep wake pattern. In that sweep wake pattern, all the modes will be on for 10 seconds and will sweep for 10 seconds. At the end of 1 hour interval, the cluster heads will be on for 20 seconds. That means 10 seconds more apart from the regular wake period of 10 seconds. So our entire network is going to be awake for 10 seconds and it will sleep for next 10 seconds. This will also be helpful in querying mechanism. That part will be explained later.
At the end of every 1 hour interval, every mode would aggregate the data and send to the respective cluster head. The cluster heads will in turn send the data to the base station directly or through a multi-hop path based on their distance from the base station. And this is the overall idea. Now we will see the working. Um, so how the data is transferred from modes in a cluster to the cluster head. At the end of every 1 hour, in any of the 10 seconds where all the modes are on, we will be programming that each mode will be backing off based on their ID. For example, a node ID 12, it will be back off for a time. Like each row and column will be having some weightage with a constant k multiplied will give the back off time. So at the end of every 1 hour, each mode in a cluster head will be backing off for a certain time for sending the data to the cluster head. In this way, all modes at the end of 1 hour will be sending the data to the cluster head. Then how from cluster head to the base station the data will get transferred? In the same way, like each cluster heads will be backed off for a certain duration, like for sending the data to the base station. Same, the cluster heads of cluster 3 and 6, like here cluster 3 and 6 will forward data to cluster heads of cluster 2 and 5 respectively, which in turn the cluster heads of cluster 2 and 5 will forward data to cluster heads of cluster 1 and 4 respectively. The cluster heads of for cluster 1 and 4 will send directly the data to the base station. So for example, this mode 90, how the data from mode 90 reaches the base station. Here the mode 90 based on its ID gets backed off for a certain duration inside the cluster itself for sending the data to the base station for the cluster head, sorry. Then from that cluster head, the data will be transferred to the next cluster head, which in front. Similarly, the data gets transferred till the cluster 1, then it reaches the base station. Okay, now querying. Whenever the user wants to send the query and wants to know about a particular location status, he can do it through base station. Here we assume the base station is powerful enough to broadcast to all modes. Since base station will be having power connectivity, we assume like this. Query will contain the location from which it wants the data. Since every mode is turned on and off every 10 seconds, after the broadcast of the query, all the nodes will be able to receive it. User has to send the query 2 times at an interval of 10 seconds so as to ensure it is received by the network. So to whichever cluster nodes the query belongs, they will send the sensed data to the respective cluster heads. Those cluster heads will in turn send it to the further cluster heads near to the base station until it reaches base station by forming a multi-hop path. Now we will see an example. We will take the same example. For example, this base station query what is the location status for the mode ID 90. Then this is a response. How the query is getting responded. Here the mode ID will send its data to the cluster head, and the cluster head will send the data in turn to the cluster head which is in front. Similarly, it will reach the base station in this way. Then for intruder detection, intruders are detected with the help of Raspberry Pi, PAR sensor and camera in a timely manner. During peak hour of intruder, Raspberry Pi will be turned on by the user, which then monitors the region with the help of camera and the PAR sensor. When the intruder is detected by the PAR sensor, the camera gets turned on to capture and send image of the intruder via email. And also Raspberry Pi turns on the alarm. For this, 2 sets of Raspberry Pi, PAR and camera are deployed at the corners. When it comes to scalability, when the modes are going to be added, since we know its deployment position from localization we saw, mode ID can be given to it. So dying of modes will not affect the modes communication, as they directly send data to the cluster head, and each cluster head in turn send them to base station through multi-hop path. Thank you.